You were probably not the only child this person molested. Wow, I did not even think about that. That's not forgiveness. You were brainwashed so a child molester wouldn't get in trouble. Tell someone in a position of authority like a school counselor. Unfortunately, this happened a really long time ago. Plus IDK how I would seek justice for this. I don't think I trust the court system to begin with anyway. My father died recently, a sad, lonely old man. No funeral was held for him. This was due to his own choices in being sexually, emotionally and mentally abusive to a number of people throughout his life, myself included. People in the Christian church I was raised in told me to forgive him, even after I had left the church. I told them that no, that was not what I needed. I needed to be allowed to be angry at him, to be hurt, to know that he was the one who chose to hurt me, and that I was innocent, a literal child who could not defend herself and was not to blame. I needed to know this, to allow myself to direct my anger and pain where it belonged, rather than toward myself for having been small. The brainwashing about forgiveness from the church perpetuates the silence that allows predators to walk freely among them. The silence needs to end, and so do the platitudes about it being to help the victim let go of the pain. They have a fucking right to be angry, to be hurt, and to draw a line and say no. Can't agree this more. When I went through something similar, I thought I was going to go to hell. I kept it a secret for 2 years when I finally broke down and told my mom. She said she'd keep it a secret and she made me pray to ask for forgiveness. As an adult and going through different sociology classes in college, I ended up realizing how damaging that was. It was never allowed the space to process what I went through because it was demanded of me to do something in the eyes of the church. Imagine you're going through something similar that I went through. Maybe now you're at a point in your life where you have your own agency to where you can finally process what you went through. It's very well that your parents did brainwash you, but truly it doesn't matter their reasoning for it because it's child neglect that they didn't report it to the police. Frankly, anyone who knew, who didn't report it is corrupt. Unfortunately, as you know, there's not much that can happen through legal prosecution at this point. However, if that's something that would make you feel better to validate what you went through, it's a very healing thing for many people to do. In some cases, the rapist has other cases or even is on probation. So when you make a report, it can further compound what another victim went through. I'm not too sure what you're asking for, but that's what I've made sense with. Forgiveness doesn't mean they should get away with it. I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'm sorry, let him get away with it, was instilled in you. Yes, forgiveness is not the absence of justice and defense. Forgiveness is more about your own recovery and mental health than letting the person get away with it. I have forgiven my rapist. That doesn't mean I'd let them near me. I'm so sorry this happened to you, and yes, as others have said, you were brainwashed. Your parents should have had you and your siblings removed due to failure to protect a child. Also, I'm not sure if you plan on having kids or do have them, but I would never take them anywhere near your family or that house of immorality and rape apologist church. They would never be safe, and your parents clearly are okay with rape and sexual assault. While you unfortunately will not likely get justice, you can start holding your family and that church accountable. They don't deserve your presence in their lives nor your forgiveness. You forgive those who genuinely try to right their wrongs, but it doesn't sound like your parents or the church will ever take responsibility for their despicable actions. Thank you very much for your reply. I agree fully with every word. It took me a while to piece all this together, but at least now I have a better perspective on why these people who were supposed to love me put me in this situation. It really sucks to admit, but at least I can quit that line of thought and steer clear of them. And no legal route for me either. I am not interested in that. I just wonder, though some people in this thread mentioned I was not the only one, I wonder if that might be true. I'm not a religious person, but I'd say yes, you were brainwashed. It's fucked up they made you do it in front of a bunch of people too. Sounds like it was both religion and your parents. They should have wanted him in jail. They should not have forced you to absolve him for being a pedophile. Parents are supposed to protect their children, not the pedophile. I am sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry for the way your parents treated you. What the church and your parents did was wrong. You deserve justice. Thank you. What's confusing about all of this is that he was in a church home for the mentally disabled. He was different than the other people at the home, though I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with him, and when I asked the adults what his problem was, they said, he has a problem with his hands. He was often overly touchy-feely with me, and it was my mother who gave me permission to go in his room with him alone. Even my 9-year-old friend noticed he was being creepy, but the adults said nothing. I am just confused because I'm not sure why they need to go to such lengths to cover up something a supposedly mentally challenged person did. I'm also confused why they seem to go along with it like everything was fine before I spoke up. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I came from a similar religious family. I highly recommend finding a psychologist that specializes in religious trauma. There are lots of books, resources, and people on Instagram and Twitter that are sparking to talk about their experiences. You're not alone. Purple heart, purple heart. My dad told me to forgive my rapist as well, and I haven't looked at him the same, and I never will. My parents forced me to forgive growing up, and now it doesn't come easily to me. Yeah, I think so. I was never raped, but I was repeatedly sexually assaulted. I have no plans to forgive, and that's what feels best to me. I hate him, and I always will. You probably feel that way, somewhere in you. That's why I don't teach my kids to forgive unconditionally. If someone does something inexcusable, I teach them to walk away. Molesting you was unforgivable, but coercing you into forgive your molester was worse, emo. You don't have to forgive. Forcing someone to forgive a perpetrator belittled the victim and the crime. It's like the evil that was done was not so bad. You were emotionally manipulated, abused, to go through the memories of the whole thing and then tell everyone, it's okay. Fuck. Forgiveness is often misguided by religion. We're taught that to forgive means to absolve any and all fault and wrongdoing. That ain't it. Forgiveness is offering yourself peace of mind to not let someone live rent-free in your mind. It does not, in any way, mean you should forget it. It does not mean they aren't guilty of it. It does not mean they don't deserve punishment or retaliation. Sounds to me like you were taught to harbor a criminal because they were too close to home for the comfort of the rest of your family, and they were protecting image, not you. They let you down here. It's not your fault. I think you have been. It's not your fault, and you shouldn't feel bad for what you said about Harvey. Thank you. I was honestly confused for so long why my classmates were so angry at me. At least now it makes more sense. Let me guess, your rapist was a family member. By forgive, they mean stop talking about it and definitely don't press charges. Yay, your parents put your rapist ahead of their own child because it was easier socially. As said, you were brainwashed to protect a child molester. Knowing very well about that sort of thing, there actually is validity in eventually being able to forgive the people who hurt you. But it's a selfish act designed to keep them from renting space in your head. Or getting space rent-free. I forget the idiom. Yes, I know the logic and tried that a bunch of times and it kept not working, and I kept staying mad and pissed off. So then they would say I wasn't doing it right, or the more popular, Jesus said you have to forgive someone not 7 times but 77. By that logic, you have to keep forgiving someone over and over and over again, all the while staying pissed off, hoping one day you will feel better? No, in the end I think it's a faulty logic, and it benefits the predator over the victim no matter how many ways people spin it. It doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't bring peace. What it did was force me to make an inner compromise because a bunch of people made promises they could not keep. I feel really let down because of that, honestly. I'd killed him. If my parents ever suggested me to forgive my rapist, I would have probably called them stupid and screamed at them until my father raised my in the air by my shirt. Absolute hate. I'd hire a hitman even 50 years later. I don't care that I'm on the radical side. No one just rapes me and gets away with it if I get to know their address. I am Catholic. Yeah, it seems you were brainwashed by them. How can you forgive them for doing something like that? Hope you're doing okay. Hey op, no offense meant, but can I snap your family's kneecaps in half? You were brainwashed. You don't have to forgive a rapist unless it happened to you and you want to. Your family shoved your trauma aside to not make a scene at church. In this instance, yes, you have been brainwashed. That is not to say everyone who is religious is like this. A rapist deserves no forgiveness. In fact, in the Bible, when a woman's brothers find out she's been raped, they ask God what they should do, and God tells them to bring them into Jewish culture, circumcise them, and then kill them the next day while their dicks are still healing. Rapists deserve death. Your family is legitimately unwell if they think you need to forgive the person that raped you. The ultimate judgment is up to God. Will God forgive this person? Maybe. Do you have to right now? No.